Evening, Aaron. 7 o'clock. All right, Terry?
When I saw you two ladies were in the front row, I thought I better get back up just in case.
Good timing.
Steve Workman.
Here.
Jason Kyo.
Here.
Dennis Miller.
Here.
Angela Woodward.
Here.
Dan Lawson.
Here.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, good evening and welcome, everyone, to the May 6th meeting of the Ashland City Council. To our viewers at home, thank you for joining us, members of our audience, and we do have a full house this evening, so welcome everyone to members of council, Mayor Miller,
Yes.
Attorney Bush, Director Paxton. Welcome, everyone. First item on the agenda this evening will be the minutes, approval of the minutes from the April 15th meeting. If there are no additions, deletions, or corrections to those minutes, I'll ask for a motion to approve as submitted.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Lawson.
Aye.
Workman.
Aye.
Kyo.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Woodward.
Aye.
Minutes will stand approved. First ordinance this evening will be an ordinance establishing the Union Street Railroad Crossing Capital Improvements Project Fund 493. This will be the Union Street Railroad for the express purpose of depositing and expending monies to remove and upgrade the Union Street Railroad crossing and declaring an emergency.
Move for non-reading in full. Second.
Thank you.
Lawson.
Aye.
Workman.
Aye.
Kyo.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Woodward.
Aye.
As you know, oh, I'm sorry, you go right ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
You probably know more about this.
I was just gonna,
project
I'll
than I
explain
do.
the project and he'll explain the ordinance.
All right.
So most of you by now know that part of getting ready for the development of the pump house district includes the removal of an old rail spur there on the north side of the existing pump house green space. The work is already underway. They're doing some work actually behind what was formerly National Latex at the moment to get ready for the removal so they can still accommodate any train traffic that might be on the east side of Union Street. If you recall, part of the excitement about this project is we're able to do it with monies we're getting from the state of Ohio, $804,000. And it is, as I said, the work is underway. So now that means soon we'll be paying bills. So we'll let the finance director take it from there.
See, I told you could fill in
No,
a lot of
no,
those blanks.
no.
This ordinance just establishes the fund so that we can expense money and report grant money as it comes in, since it's a 100% benefit to the community and the city. We have to report those funds on our books, even though someone else may be paying for it. There is a portion of that local money that may have to be transferred, but that is only if it has to be transferred. So I provided an appropriations, sample appropriations with this ordinance, but that's kind of a last resort if we have to use that local money. And that does coincide with the grant application.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Paxton or the mayor, either one?
So the total cost of the project?
About $1 million altogether, I believe. It's 800, and then if they use all of it, plus the 177 that we estimate local monies, it's pretty close to the $1 million. But again, the Ashland Railroad is, I believe, paying for a lot of those expenses, and the grant will reimburse them, hopefully directly, rather than through the city.
So the grant actually covers up to a maximum of $804,000 or 90% of the project cost.
Okay.
And so
So
I
we
think we're
will,
expecting it to be under 804,000,
okay.
yes.
But the contingency is if it doesn't, then we have the 177
Right.
or whatever.
Yes.
Whatever dollar amount it takes. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. And
But we're not-
That is only if needed. At this point, we.
So you're not transferring that part?
Absolutely not. We will not transfer that, only as needed in a worst-case scenario.
Okay.
Does this grant agreement also cover the new connection that's on the picture here, the image?
Yes,
Okay.
Yes.
I knew it was gonna cover
yes,
tearing out the old spur, but
Yes.
it also covers that new connection.
reconfiguring, yes.
But this is just establishing the fund.
Yeah, that's all this ordinance does.
All right. If there's no more discussion, I'll ask for a motion to approve on the first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Workman.
Aye.
Kyle.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Woodward.
Aye.
Lawson.
Aye.
I'll move to suspend the rules for 3 separate readings, 3 separate days.
Second.
Thank you.
Kyle.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Woodward.
Aye.
Lawson.
Aye.
Workman.
Aye. Motion to approve the ordinance?
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you.
Miller.
Aye.
Woodward.
Aye.
Lawson.
Aye.
Workman.
Aye.
Kyle.
Aye.
Ordinance 37-25.
Next, we have an ordinance authorizing the issuing of a then and now certificate for the following attached expenditures for the city of Ashland, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Move for non-reading in full. Second.
Thank you.
Workman.
Aye.
Kyle.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Woodward.
Aye.
Lawson.
Aye.
This ordinance authorizes the issuing of a then and now certificate for I believe this is a valve at the water treatment plant. As they were working on the maintenance of the plant, this valve needed to be replaced. And so they had to expedite the material to get it done. Unfortunately, it's above the $3,000 limit, so.
Sure. Questions, comments? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve on the first reading?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Kyle.
Yes.
Miller.
Aye.
Woodward.
Aye.
Lawson.
Aye.
Workman.
Aye. Again, I'll move to suspend the rules for 3 separate readings, 3 separate days.
Second.
Thank you.
Miller.
Aye.
Woodward.
Aye.
Lawson.
Aye.
Workman.
Aye.
Kyle.
Aye.
Motion to approve the ordinance?
So moved. Second.
Thank you.
Woodward.
Aye.
Lawson.
Aye.
Workman.
Aye.
Kyle.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Ordinance 38-25.
Next, we have an ordinance authorizing the Director of Finance to amend appropriations for the calendar year 2025 and declare an emergency.
Move for non-reading in full.
Second.
Thank you.
Kyle.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Woodward.
Aye.
Lawson.
Aye.
Workman.
Aye.
This ordinance appropriates additional monies that was remaining in the general fund. First, to pay some outstanding bills that the city has incurred. It does allow for a transfer within from the water fund to the water debt retirement fund, or appropriates money, excuse me, and then it appropriates money within the water tank payment or water bond retirement fund so that we can pay some additional principal this year. The street resurfacing is a continuation of the State Route 96 paving program that the state used federal highway dollars on in an effort to, we have to report those. Since it is in the city, we have to report those dollars on our books. That is not money that we are appropriating to spend as much as it is appropriating it to record that document or those numbers on the books of the city. ODOT paid the bill. Unfortunately, we have to record those expenditures on our books since the city is receiving a benefit from that. Okay?
Sure.
And then the other is establishing, recently you created a fund for, brain dead. Wow, okay. Oh goodness. I thought I had all that put together.
Okay.
Okay.
We previously had created a fund for another capital improvement project. This appropriates the money for that. Again, most of it is paid by grants, as you can see. It does create an appropriations for the general fund to transfer money. Again, it will only be transferred if necessary in order to meet the grant requirements. I don't like to, even though we will be appropriating the money for the construction here of that project, I don't like transferring any more, and I just have to out of the general fund in order to meet those requirements. But we do have to record the revenue and the expenditures of those grant dollars into our books, even though someone else is paying for it. Okay?
When you do actually make the transfer, then it has been taken care of. with
Correct.
this.
It's just
We won't be-
appropriating it if we need it.
Okay,
And I want to emphasize, if we need it.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do not like transferring, since the general fund feeds so many different departments, we try to hold those reserves as much as possible within the general fund.
Sure.
But it is the fund, the only fund that we can legally transfer out of into other funds as needed. Right.
Sure. Questions?
Thank you, Larry.
Okay. Hearing none, is there a motion to approve on the first reading?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Miller,
Aye.
Woodward,
Aye.
Lawson,
Aye.
Workman,
Aye.
Kyle.
Aye.
Again, I'll move to suspend the rules for three separate readings, 3 separate days.
Second.
Thank you.
Woodward,
Aye.
Lawson,
Aye.
Workman.
Aye.
Kyle.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Motion to approve the ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Lawson,
Aye.
Workman,
Aye.
Kyle.
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Woodward.
Aye.
Ordinance 39-25.
All right. It is 7:12. We'll move right down to public hearing items. I think I'd like to skip to number 3, just for the sake of time. This is a rezoning from RA Residential District to RL Residential District and RL Residential to SU Special Use District 340 Samaritan Avenue, the Shar College of Education. Basically, this is a housekeeping matter with regard to zoning, and the whole area's already zoned SU, and this will put everything in a conforming zoning
Clean it up.
status.
Yes.
So with that, Mayor, would you like to speak to?
We'll put that map up on the screen so everyone here can see it and the folks at home can see it. All right, if you'll take a look at what's on the screen here, this is Samaritan Avenue. This is Park Street. And this would have been College Boulevard, right here, College Boulevard. And all of this area over here in the light gray is Ashland University land, and its special use is the zoning designation for all of that land that you now see in light gray. This area, all throughout here, is already owned and occupied by the university. Right there is the big parking lot next to the Arts and Humanities building. And right here, if you can see under all of the writing, is the silhouette of the Shar College of Education. And then here, of course, is open parkland. I believe there's like a cul-de-sac or a half of cul-de-sac there where you can pull over and pick up or drop off someone. But there are no longer any homes in any of that area. It's no longer residential. And so, like was just mentioned by the council president, the request is to go ahead and finish cleaning up the map and make that special use. After all, it's already used for the Ashland University purposes. No homes exist on it, and it is being used for the school's purposes as we speak.
Very good. Questions, comments? Since this is a public hearing, I'll ask the members of the audience if they have anything they'd like to say or address council with regarding the rezoning of this area. Seeing none, then, ask again, anyone here? Okay, with that, we'll move to the next item.
Steve, we need a motion
for-
to approve the rezoning.
Is this our
And-
second or third hearing?
And move to an ordinance at a later date?
Right.
Okay, so we needed a motion to
Approve the
Well-
rezoning.
And let me
Approve,
ask you,
yes.
do we, or do
Thank
we
you.
need to wait till we get ordinance ready?
We have to let them approve it, and then they'll do the ordinance,
Okay, is that correct? I don't know.
I think it would just be the ordinance.
because we've always done it this way.
I mean, a motion to ask that an ordinance be prepared for the next meeting.
to do that.
Maybe that's a good way to do it, yes.
Yeah, that's kind of why I'm fumbling here, because it doesn't seem like we have everything yet.
I didn't think we would take action on it tonight. I
Yeah.
thought we had to prepare an ordinance, but if that is what you have seen, then we certainly can do that.
Sure. So our clerk has asked for a motion to approve or have a ordinance prepared for the rezoning at a later date, which would be our next meeting most likely, unless.
So moved, so moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All right.
Don't make me restate.
Lawson.
Aye.
Workman.
Aye.
Kyle.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Woodward.
Aye.
All right.
Good.
Next, we will move to the alley vacation for the Ronald and Matthews Avenue.
All right, we'll put this one up on the screen so everyone in the audience can see. All the council members already have the map. Was sent out in your packet. We did discuss this at a previous meeting when we set the hearing date. But if you take a look at this map, you will see Ronald Avenue over here on the right side. You will see Matthews on the left side, and then right here is East Main Street. And if you don't recognize where this is at, this is the Moto Mart. That's the roof of the fuel island and so on of the Moto Mart. And these two buildings were previously known as Remax. And the alley that we are asking the council to consider vacating is this alley that, quite honestly, resembles no alley whatsoever right now. It is all grown over, it's lawn and trees and so on. So there's no evidence that it's an alley, although on this end, there is a drive that comes off of Matthews and is used to service this garage. If this vacation is approved by the city council, that access would still be allowed. So the folks that occupy this particular garage would still be able to access it off Matthews. We're more concerned about all of this land right now that the city is not maintaining, the property owners adjacent are maintaining, and we're asking you basically to consider vacating it because we see that it has no public purpose.
Any questions or concerns for the mayor?
Is it just two homes affected by that? Is it just the two homes there?
Yes, the offices that were formerly known as Remax.
Okay, I see.
Yes,
Well, and the ones behind it.
yes.
And one's behind.
And you can see that it is, there's multiple access points into that property from both Matthews, East Main, and same with Motomart.
Are there any city utilities on that property?
I don't believe so, actually.
Doesn't look like it from the drawing.
No.
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay. I'll open this up to the floor. If anyone here has comments or concerns, now would be the time to address those, as it is a public hearing. Yes, sir. If you would step up to the podium, state your name and where you live, what ward you're in, that is, and for the minutes, and
And this is about Ronald Avenue?
Yeah, this is the alley. I own the property 117. And you made reference to the garage area.
Yes.
And my problem with it, I'm opposed to it right now because I've been working with the city engineer since February. And the problem is the Remax building has two catch basins in it. You can see in the screen
the large concrete area. Well, in the city alley, in which which you want to close, has a catch basin. Everything drains from East Main back to that alley on that concrete. And I have pictures on my phone yesterday where it flooded the inside of the garage, my property. And I've been patiently working with the city engineer, that's where I started. And the first trip, they came out and removed the leaves from the catch basin. That was fine until it rained again. And then, of course, I came up and voiced my opinion that asked if the city could send a street crew down and clean it out. Well, he informed me that there's going to be a meeting, and he said actually the meeting was canceled, but he said I'll be getting another letter, which I did, I'm holding in my hand, and he said he would send somebody out. Well, about a week later, I was on the property, and a city worker came in, and he dug about 2 or 3 5-gallon buckets of mud out of that catch basin, which exposed 2 4-inch pipe, which we didn't even know was there. And the city worker told me, he said, yeah, he said, I'm very familiar with the problem. He said, I worked on this a couple years ago. And so I asked him, I said, can you report into your boss and ask him if he could take care of it? He said, sure. And so therefore I waited, and of course rained again. I get water down into my building. My next trip was down to 12th Street, which I wasn't sure which department was which, so I went to 12th Street, explained to him. The lady said, no problem, I'll take care of it. She said, it's not our department here, but I'll see that it gets taken care of. So I said, okay. So next time it rained, I get water again. So she said, oh, by the way, she said, the department's down on Cleveland Avenue. Okay, so after the rain, I go to Cleveland Avenue. I speak with the gentleman down there. He said, no problem, I'll jet it out, take care of it. I said, okay. I said, well, they're talking about closing the alley, so I do not really want to inherit a problem that the city of Ashland has. And I said, I'm very familiar with what stormwater replacement would be. And also, I said, I would like to see if the city had any record of tap fees for stormwater or a map where the piping went to, which they did not. So that's kind of where I left it. And of course, yesterday's rain was the biggest water damage that we had inside the building. And of course, I'm concerned really more with the outside of the building with the concrete block foundation. So that's kind of where I stand. I'm against it until I find out what the city's going to do, or, take care of the problem.
Did you get a name? What was your name, sir? I'm sorry.
Ron Stewart.
Ron Stewart? Thank you, Mr. Stewart.
Good. And so what I would say to that is you can still vacate the alley and the city can maintain responsibility for that catch basin. So
Because it is stormwater. Am I correct? So,
I have not had a conversation with the engineer specifically about what Mr. Stewart is addressing, but I have no reason to think he's not accurately representing his conversations with Mr. Kremser.
given the fact that when you vacate an alley, 50% goes to one side, 50% goes to the other side, where will that catch basin be then? Will it be on the Remax property, or will it be on his property?
So there's a catch basin in the alley?
I also have a question, which I presented to the engineer. I said, what if the proposal goes through, they vacate the alley, and you have no drawings? And I said, I'm very familiar with direct boring. I've had Simonson do direct boring just within the last year for me. I said, who's responsible? I said, my understanding, once the alley's vacated, I get half of the alley, 6 foot, and now the responsibility becomes mine. And I said, that's a $50,000 job. It's a $25,000 bore under Matthews Avenue, plus a stormwater tap, plus about $60 a foot, along with replacing city asphalt that's already on top of the alley back to the end of my property. So I told him, I said, I do not want to inherit that problem until it's confirmed that the piping is good, whether they put a camera in it and determine exactly what the piping is, or take care of the problem.
So to clarify, you're saying that the catch basin is in the alley?
The catch basin's right in the center of the alley.
Okay.
And the way I see it, if the city vacates the alley, now the problem becomes two landowners, and I'm not sure whether Mr. Slingman still owns the property, the old Remax building, but now the problem becomes between he and I, which could go into a legal battle, which I'm not interested in fighting the city or my neighbors.
And I completely understand Mr. Stewart's concern, but I will tell you, I do not believe it becomes his issue. And certainly, he would not have to bear a $50,000 expense of tearing up Matthews Avenue or boring underneath it. So we would still be taking care of that catch basin.
Catch basin belongs to the city.
That is exactly my understanding,
Right.
so,
Okay, yes. And,
yes.
but yet, when we vacate, it removes the maintenance.
Well, here's what I'm going to tell you.
In the eyes of
It
the
is not-
owner-
It is
owners,
not
I should say.
uncommon for our city to go out and address these catch basins that are in some of these neighborhoods that are not on city land. I think it all boils down to, I guess we're using the term here a lot tonight, but does it serve a public purpose? And clearly, if that's where all the drains are going from that area, I cannot imagine that the city would walk away from it in the future. But I think the bigger thing is, the city has no intentions to ever turn that into a public alleyway in the future. So,
Is
We
this
can
a
wait-
recent
we can-
development, or has it happened in previous years? Has this happened before in previous years, or is this a recent development? The flooding.
I'm not really sure whenever the Remax concreted the lot, that's when the catch basins, all three were installed. And at that time, the
oh, that's
city
interesting.
That is
paved
interesting.
It's
that alley.
interesting.
The building had been a rental, so I had never really been there on a regular basis.
Sure.
I use the building now as storage.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you came in then to talk about it.
So the question is, should we move forward with that?
Well, the next step, of
Vacation.
course, is with the Board of Revision and Assessments. And so I guess the Board of Revision and of Assessments is the law director, the finance director, and the mayor. And of course, I guess if there isn't anyone else who would like to speak to this particular alley vacation, is there anyone in the audience? It doesn't look like it.
Almost sounds like though, if they're having the water come from Main Street all the way down to there, this does serve public interest, because then that's taking the water from the main public road that everybody uses. So that, just for end of conflict, that would be, probably best not to vacate it, because then it would end all conflict, period. The city would be responsible on it, and none of the property owners would have to take the deficit.
So at this time, I'll ask if the Board of Revision and Assessment would like to convene our meeting? All right, then I will call to order the meeting of the Board of Revision and Assessment to review the proposed alley vacation of between Ronald Avenue and Matthews Avenue. And we'll open it up for discussion.
I think the alley vacation, in the alley vacation, its purpose is, does the alley serve a public purpose? I looked at that alley. There are several trees that are growing in it. There's an infringement of one of the buildings, I think, on the Remax property that butts up to it, if not on it. You would be hard pressed to drive a vehicle down that alley and stay on the alley and not on someone else's property. So, and I've looked at that, the benefit to the Remax property is it would give them a second or a back alley to get out of. But that is not the case. There's a tree in there that looks like it might be 40 or 50 years old that has grown in the alley. The maps that we have been provided to us show no utilities whatsoever going in that alley. There is no water, there is no sewer line, there is no storm water. It appears like maybe the contractor that installed the parking lot may have installed that catch basin back there. Where it's connected to shows up nowhere on the city's maps at all. It doesn't exist on what we have before us here. The public purpose, if it's a right-of-way, or if you can drive through it, or if it can be developed as a second roadway or a right-of-way of some sort. Maybe we need to install a utility line or water line or a sewer line through that. Then that would become a public purpose. I honestly do not see a public purpose in this, in the fact that, you know, the trees, the age of the trees, and it appears like you and your neighbors have maintained, the yards look like they may have been mowed. Of course, it's been a little while, the last couple of weeks since I've been there. I'm not doubting what you're telling us, that it does flood. But I'm not so sure that it's our problem as much it is the old Remax property with the parking lot pushing the stormwater your direction rather than to the street. Where do the catch basins on the Remax property, where does that drain to? Does that drain to the street?
Both catch basins on Remax Drive, or whole parking lot, it appears it drains back to the city alley. And then out of the catch basin in the city alley, it goes in the direction of Matthews Avenue. But I've worked with the city in several projects over 30 years, and I've never been able to put a catch basin on city property without some kind of authorization. And Matt knows my experience with Gunther Mechanical, how many projects I've done with the city, and I find it strange that somebody could put a catch basin on city property and have no record. Is that true?
I don't know when it went in, but.
I'd be more than happy to show you the map that we have. It shows no utility whatsoever in that.
So it probably is quite possible the contractor did it without
Well,
asking the
also,
city.
It's strange that the city has been very familiar with the problem for a number of years.
And I don't want to diminish what Mr. Stewart's saying. It's an issue, and it's an issue that we should be concerned about. But I think we're kind of talking apples and oranges. The alley vacation is a question of whether that alley serves a purpose for,
Traffic.
yeah, for travel, for traffic, for ingress and egress. And the drainage issue is a totally separate issue. And us vacating the alley does not necessarily mean the catch basin is not the city's problem. It doesn't mean the city's not going to do something about it. There is the possibility that, as you alluded to, it's an issue, whether there's an alley there or not, that needs to be hashed out between you and the neighbor. I don't know. I don't think any of us know enough to decide that as we're sitting here. The question is whether that alley serves a purpose for traffic, and I don't think it does.
If they would vacate it, are they gonna resurvey it and locate, property stakes, or how does that take place?
We don't normally do that.
But I'm not sure where your conversations have left off with Shane Kremser, our city engineer, but we can pick those up regardless of whether the alley is vacated. So,
Yeah, and he was very reasonable, he understood, both
Yes.
sides of it.
yes. So then with those comments, I will ask, is there a motion to vacate the alley to recommend to the city council the vacation of the alley between Ronald Avenue and Matthews Avenue?
Mayor, at this point, I would make a motion that the proposed alley vacation be approved and forwarded on to city council with the considerations of what the gentleman has brought forward, that further investigation by the engineers department be carried out.
Very good.
With that, I would make my motion, please.
Do we have a second?
I second. that
All right.
motion.
Any further discussion? I will add to further discussion. In real time, our engineering staff has contacted me and shared with me there are no records of that catch basin on file. So, for what it's worth, I have a feeling it was added without anyone's permission and it was just done. So,
Wouldn't be the first time either.
Probably won't be the last time.
yes. So, if we have no further discussion, we will take a roll call vote. Mr. Paxton?
Yes.
And this roll call vote is, are you in favor of the vacation of the alley? Mr. Paxton says yes. Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Okay, and then I get a vote, so I will say yes. So now the Board of Revision and Assessment have approved the vacation of this alley, and now it goes on to the council. And we would ask the council to consider vacating the alley.
At this time, is council prepared to take action?
I'll make a motion that we approve vacating the alley.
All right. And is there a second?
Second.
This would have to be done by way of the ordinance.
The ordinance,
Yeah,
this is
this
to
is
prepare an
just prepare an
ordinance.
No,
ordinance.
we've got
We
the
have
ordinance. We
Oh,
have
you
the
do?
ordinance with us
Forgive me.
tonight.
All right. So
Oh, yeah. Shoot.
with that, Mr. Kyle made a second.
You have to do.
Do we need to finish the
whole
hearing
Lawn reading in full.
and then move to the ordinance?
Yeah, we'll do that. This is to come to that point, isn't it? Don't we need to? Or just act on the
I
ordinance?
think you just act on it.
Oh, okay, very good. We can do that.
Just gotta close the hearing.
We'll, if there are no other public comments, I'll close the hearing for Ronald and Matthews Avenues on the street vacation. So with that, we have an ordinance to vacate certain alleys situated in the city of Ashland, Ohio, and declare an emergency.
Move for non-reading in full.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Miller,
Aye.
Woodward,
Aye.
Lawson,
Aye.
Workman.
Aye.
Kyle.
Aye.
I'll move to suspend the rules for 3 separate readings, 3 separate
Steve,
days.
you
Oh.
need to pass on the first reading.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Terry. Need a motion to approve on the first reading? Correct?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Woodward,
Aye.
Lawson,
Aye.
Workman,
Aye.
Kyle,
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
I'll move to suspend the rules for 3 separate readings, 3 separate days.
Second.
Thank you.
Lawson,
Aye.
Workman.
Aye.
Kyle,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Woodward.
Aye.
Motion to approve the ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Thank you.
Workman.
Aye.
Kyle,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Woodward,
Aye.
Lawson.
Aye.
Ordinance 40-25.
Excuse me.
So I will add then, Mr. Stewart, that we'll talk with you and figure out where we go from here. in regard, as it relates to that basin. Excuse me.
To summarize, it seems to be a private property matter at this point. At this point where the alley was vacated, since you'll be 50% owners of the alley at this point, and the city has no record of a catch basin. But that's not to say we're going to abandon the matter for you. I want to make that clear, and I hope we leave you with that impression. So, very good.
So we'll just be in touch tomorrow, I'm sure, first thing. All right.
Very good. We'll move then to the public hearing for the Troy Road Market, non-conforming use permit. This is 1300 Troy Road, and with that, we'll open up the hearing. Mayor, would you like to summarize?
All right, we'll put this one up on the screen. Everyone in Ashland is probably familiar with Troy Road, which heads out to 511 and West 13th Street. And here is the current Troy Road Market that has been around since before 1965. And the reason I know that is because in 1965 is when the city enacted zoning. And at that time, all of this area was made residential. However, because the Troy Road Market was already in existence, it was grandfathered in at that location. Obviously, it's been kind of a, what would you say, a landmark in that neighborhood for generations, and now it has a new owner. And the new owner would like to tear down the existing Troy Road Market and reconfigure it and improve it. He still would not be adding fuel islands, but it would be a convenience store. And in order for him to do that, he has to have a non-conforming use permit, because the current building was grandfathered, but when you tear it down and do something different in that location, you have to have permission from the council to do the same thing. So that's why this is a hearing tonight, is to discuss whether or not anyone has concerns about tearing Troy Road Market down and rebuilding it. Now, this particular drawing shows you what it would look like. And this did go before our planning commission, and at the planning commission meeting, I think there was kind of a sentiment that it would be an improvement, because as you know, right now at Troy Road Market, the pavement of the parking lot goes right out to the pavement of 13th Street and Troy Road. You can come in and out anywhere you want to. And at times, we're told by some of the neighbors that can create traffic issues. The new configuration would involve moving the store back a bit, but more importantly, adding very specific drive entrances and exits off Troy Road and off West 13th Street. So no longer would you be able to just enter anywhere you wanted to, because there would be curbing and a tree lawn. So that is what is being proposed. And in order for this project to move forward, the council has to grant a non-conforming use permit. And we are required to have a public hearing to hear from anyone that might have concerns before the council considers the matter. We do have the owner of the project here tonight, so if you'd like to say something, feel free to do so. Or if you want to wait and see what is said by our guest, we can do that as well.
All right. Unless council wants to begin, I don't think council has any comment on the matter
No.
currently, correct? So we'll open the floor up to public concerns. If there's anyone here that has any, you're more than welcome to step up to the podium.
Yes.
All right. Hearing none, then we'll hand it over to the Board of Revision and Assessment for their recommendation.
And you know, this particular item does not require
Oh, okay.
an act by the Board of Revision and Assessment. This time, all that's required is basically the council casting their vote in favor of the non-conforming use permit.
All right,
Okay.
very good. If council has no further items to consider on the matter, I'll ask for a motion to approve.
Just a question for clarity.
Sure.
I know we've heard this before, so this is at least our second hearing.
Yes.
Have we had 3 hearings on it, or do we need to have 3 hearings on it?
No,
Or
one
we can
public
just take
hearing.
action. We can just take action now? then?
Yes. So
Thank you.
it's been brought up at 2 council meetings, but only 1 public hearing is required, and this is a formal public hearing. Yes.
All right, so hearing none,
I move,
Oh, now, okay, I'm gonna put Ish on the spot, the owner.
sure.
Let me think, am I going to do this? One of the things that I am just gonna express so that it's noted in the minutes, it seems to me that it's very clear that there is a large amount of our population that is not in favor of additional vape and smoke shops being installed around our city. And it would certainly, most likely not meet the approval of the council if this were to be installed as a smoke and vape shop on that corner. I'll let the council, you can decide that, but I guess what I want to note is that as we issue, if you should, I don't get to vote on it, but if you issue this permit, you're doing it for a convenience store and not for,
And can that be dictated?
The ordinance allows for you to put conditions on the permit, and you need to be careful with that, obviously, and I think the place probably sells tobacco now and will continue to. And I guess thinking out loud, perhaps if you wanted to put a condition on it, the condition could be that it be a convenience store, it can sell those sorts of things, but that it can't be exclusively a vape store, which I don't think is at all the plan.
which is not. And you see why I'm bringing this up.
Sure.
Because if someone were sitting here tonight and proposing to tear down the Troy Road Market and build in its location a smoke or vape shop, I doubt that this council would be eager to vote to give them a non-conforming use permit to do that. When you give this permit tonight, you're doing it with the understanding that it's a convenience store, not so unlike what is already there.
So within the permitting process, it can be stipulated that it is for purposes of a convenience store, not strictly vape and smoke shop sales.
Correct. I think an appropriate motion would be that you move to approve of the non-conforming use permit with the condition that the use be similar to its current use and that it not be modified to exclusively a vape or smoke shop. I know that's kind of a mouthful. And I guess I'd ask, are you comfortable with that language?
Say it one more time.
So I suggested they move to approve the non-conforming use permit on the condition that the nature of the store be essentially the same as it's currently operated and that it not be exclusively a smoke or vape shop. Okay.
Very good.
Seem fair?
Thank you for articulating that.
Of course.
So with that, is there such a motion?
I make a motion to
Okay.
approve.
Is there a second?
What Andrew said.
Yeah, what Andrew said.
If
That
I said
mouthful.
it the same both times.
Yes.
I'll be-
Did you get the verbiage, Terry?
I did.
Okay. And-
I'll second.
Okay, thank you.
Lawson.
Aye.
Workman.
Aye.
Kyle.
aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Woodward.
Aye.
All right,
All right.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for everyone's patience as we went through those, too. We don't do those things every day, so.
Ish, did you have anything to add?
Sure.
If you'd like to, certainly.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Miller and Board of the Member. Thank you for giving me opportunity and speak with you today. My name is Ish and I'm here requesting approval to rebuild the motorized my convenience store, which is located right there, right the heart of the neighborhood. And as many know, it's been there for quite some time, almost 60 years, So it's serving the community well over the year. Now would be outdated and seriously need improvement. What I proposing to not to just rebuild convenience store, but itself the build motorized, safer and cleaner and more visible, apparently better first into the neighborhood, which is the provide quick and convenient as essentially like coffee, snacks, everyday item without resident having leave the neighborhood. This project will bring the several benefit to the community. It will improve the safer through the update equipment and better environment protection. It will be create the job during the construction and the long-term operating the stores. It will give residents more convenience, especially busy family with those with mobility challenge. And it will raise overall appeal to the properly replacing and against construction, something the modern and cleaner. We also commit to the doing this right way. That means complying with the environmental and the zoning regulation, using the design that has been with the neighborhood charter, minimize construction disruption, and listening to the feedback from the community throughout the process. At this time, I'm asking to the support our approval to move forward with this project. I am more than happy to share site plan, design idea, traffic impact detail, and I'm open to work closely with the city and the community as well. We move ahead. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Ish.
Always appreciate your investment in our community, Ish. You're
Yes.
a well-established business person, and we have confidence that that area will be improved by your being there and your presence. So we appreciate that, and I guess more than you know. So we just want to make that clear, so thank you. Anyone else have anything to say? All right. So ends the public hearings. With that, we'll close and move right to resolutions, of which there are none. Moving to old business or new business, we have none unless council has something to bring forward. With that, then, we'll move right to finance director's report.
The only report I have is that we continue to work on the audit for last year, and we have begun the process of the 2026 tax budget. And we will be sending more information out, but that is a process that is next on our agenda.
Very good.
No rest.
Thanks, Larry.
Yeah.
Any comments or
Thank you.
questions for Larry? Director Paxton? All right. Go right to council comments. Mr. Kyle?
I have nothing.
Mr. Miller?
I have none.
Mrs. Woodward?
Well, today's voting day, and although there's just a few things on the ballot, I want to thank the polling workers. They had to sit there all day regardless. When I went to vote this afternoon, they said they had like 169 people come through, but they're still there serving us today, so I want to thank you for doing that.
I just want to add my voice to say thank you to the Troy Road Market. Back in the day when I was working on my master's, I lived in that area. We used that market frequently, and it's a valuable asset to that community.
Yes, it is.
And so I'm so much appreciating that you're not willing to just pack up and move out and leave it lock, stock, and barrel, but you're actually going to make improvements and make it better. And I want to thank you for that, because that a rising tide floats all boats. That helps the entire city, believe it or not. And I want to see more people do that kind of thing. So just thank you.
I guess as president of the council, I just want to say, if you would, we appreciate everyone who comes to our meetings, truly, but withhold your comments among yourselves. It's a distraction to us trying to conduct the business of the city here, if you would. And we'll give you an opportunity to speak at the point of comments and questions from our audience, but if you would, we'd appreciate that. I'll hand it over to you, Mayor, with that.
You know, I don't have anything new, but I will say it is impressive when you drive around the city. In just about any section of the city you visit, there's new construction taking place. And while not everyone may be enthused about the various projects that are happening, the reality is it is a sign of progress, and all of the projects are involving significant outside investment, starting with Amazon out in the industrial park to the Circle K that is being constructed at the Osborne School site. You have to admit, it's pretty impressive, the new convenience store and filling station that they are adding there next to Coldwell Ward Real Estate and the Armory. Also, our progress is being made on the culvert here across from Dairy Queen. We don't expect it to be done until the end of summer or the beginning of fall. We're still waiting on pieces and parts to arrive, but that alone, today I was looking at some of the old photos of the buildings that we purchased to tear down. That was Ona Jane's, it was the muffler shop and the body shop. And wow, what a difference. And you can see already the way they are paring back the walls along the creek. That will be covered in riprap, the same white limestone that you see down here outside of City Hall. And then all of the remaining terrain around it will be green grass and trees and probably a few benches. And even though we have a lot of mess right now, a lot of piles of dirt, a lot of cones, a lot of barriers, the reality is you can already get a glimpse of how grand it will look when you come around the corner and see that wide open. And so that's another exciting project. Also, at our next council meeting, I expect that we'll probably be bringing forward 2 new community reinvestment area agreements. And these will be for 2 additional projects. One that will probably include a 200,000 square foot facility at the industrial park. The other, a new franchise restaurant out by Goasis. So stay tuned. There's more to come. Yes, exactly, yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. Now we'll move to comments and questions from our audience. If someone has something they'd like to address council with, you're more than welcome to step up to the podium and have your say. All these people came and they don't want to say anything? You just like to see our government in action. I'm truly complimented by that. Yeah. So thank you for being here. With the exception of Mr. Stewart, thank you for being here, but I mean, we appreciate your willingness to speak, truly. Yeah. We can't be everywhere, and always appreciate the calls and comments we get from people who point things out to us that need to be addressed within the city. So thank you. With that, we can entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second?
Thank you.
Aye.
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 All right, thank you. We are adjourned. Thank you all for being here.